Hi guys! Today I'm sharing with you my exclusive unique experience of expedition to one of the most inaccessible places in Egypt, the Great Temple of Osiris in Abydos. Dear friends, help the channel to grow. Share this video with your friends, subscribe and like my channel. Thank you for your support, it's priceless for me. Okay, let me start my story. As introduction, I must tell you what Abydos really is and its role in the human history is. Abydos, one of Egypt's most sacred ancient cities, was a prominent religious center associated with the worship of Osiris, the god of the underworld and resurrection. At the heart of this sacred city lay the Great Temple of Osiris, a grand and spiritual hub that attracted pilgrims from across the ancient world. This temple not only celebrated Osiris's myth, but also solidified Abydos's place as the primary cult center for the god who symbolized eternal life. I have to say a few words about the historical and religious importance of Abydos. Abydos held a unique place in Egyptian culture as the spiritual nexus for Osiris worship. While its history stretches back to the pre-dynastic period, its association with Osiris emerged prominently during the Middle Kingdom, circa 4,000 years ago. Abydos became known as the burial site of Osiris, according to mythology, where his head or another fragment of his body was interred. Pilgrimages to the Great Temple of Osiris were considered essential for ensuring a blessed afterlife. It became common for Egyptians to commission stelae or build small chapels at Abydos to associate themselves spiritually with Osiris. Kings, nobles, and commoners alike sought proximity to this sacred site, believing it strengthened their connection to the god of rebirth. The Great Temple of Osiris has a long history of construction, and a lot of pharaohs were involved. The Great Temple of Osiris at Abydos evolved over centuries, with contributions from numerous pharaohs who sought to enhance its spiritual and architectural significance. Although Abydos was a sacred site since Egypt's earliest dynasties, the first major construction dedicated to Osiris likely began during the Middle Kingdom. The reign of Senusret III marked a turning point, as he formalized Abydos's status as a pilgrimage center. He constructed a cenotaph and monumental chapels honoring Osiris. The Great Temple of Osiris reached new heights of grandeur during the New Kingdom. Seti I, one of ancient Egypt's most ambitious builders, played a pivotal role in the construction of the Great Temple of Osiris. He built the nearby temple of Seti I, which featured chapels dedicated to Osiris and other deities, and expanded the temple complex to solidify Abydos's position as a spiritual capital. Seti's son, Ramesses the Great, continued his father's work, adding decorations, reliefs, and additional structures to honor Osiris. During the late period, Abydos remained a focal point for Osiris worship. Pharaohs of the Seti dynasty funded renovations to maintain the temple's sanctity and align themselves with its spiritual power. Smaller structures were added around the temple to accommodate growing numbers of pilgrims. Let me tell you about architecture and layout of the Great Temple of Osiris. The Great Temple of Osiris stood as a monumental tribute to the god, combining grandeur with spiritual symbolism. Though much of the temple lies in ruins today, inscriptions, architectural remnants, and reconstructions provide a glimpse into its design and importance. You can see it on pictures I'm showing you here. Key features of the temple include grand entrance, or the main entrance, and courtyards. The temple's entrance, likely flanked by pylons, led to expansive open courtyards where processions and offerings were conducted. These courtyards symbolize the transitional space between the earthly realm and the divine. Hypostyle halls. Inside the temple, a series of hypostyle halls with massive stone columns provided access to sacred spaces. These halls were adorned with carvings and hieroglyphics depicting scenes of Osiris, his resurrection, and his judgment of souls. Sanctuary of Osiris. The innermost chamber housed the cult statue of Osiris and a sacred relic thought to represent his burial. This sanctuary was a space of utmost reverence, where only priests and the pharaoh were permitted entry. Osiris cult chapels. Surrounding the temple were smaller chapels dedicated to Osiris's family and his mythological narrative, including shrines to Isis, Horus, and Anubis. These chapels allowed pilgrims to partake in rituals tied to Osiris's mythos. Processional way to the necropolis. The temple connected to the sacred necropolis of Abydos through a ceremonial avenue. This route was central to the annual Osiris Mysteries festival, reenacting Osiris's death and resurrection. I have to say a few words about religious practices and the Osiris Mysteries. The Great Temple of Osiris was the focal point of the annual Osiris Mysteries, a dramatic reenactment of the god's myth. These rites, held during the inundation season, emphasized themes of death, rebirth, and cosmic balance. Priests and devotees would perform rituals symbolizing Osiris's murder by Seth, his dismemberment, and eventual resurrection through the efforts of Isis and Anubis. The processions would begin at the temple and proceed along the sacred path to his symbolic tomb. Participants carried effigies of Osiris, chanted hymns, and offered sacrifices, recreating his journey to the afterlife. Pilgrims believed that by witnessing or participating in these rites, they aligned themselves with Osiris's promise of eternal life. The Great Temple of Osiris was the focal point of the Osiris Mysteries, annual rituals reenacting Osiris's death and resurrection. These ceremonies attracted pilgrims from across Egypt, who believed their participation would secure their immortality in the afterlife. The processions often culminated at symbolic tombs or cenotaphs, further embedding Abydos as the spiritual capital of Osiris worship. Let's look on the history of research and excavations of the Great Temple of Osiris. The Great Temple of Osiris captivated the imaginations of explorers and Egyptologists from the 19th century onward. The Temple of Osiris is located northwest of the Temple of Seti I and the Osirian, about a mile away. This site was first discovered and described by Auguste Mariette in his work, Abydos, Description de Feuilles, which includes a geographical map of Abydos and a diagram of the Great Temple of Osiris. You can see diagrams sourced from Auguste Mariette's book, Abydos, Description de Feuilles. Émile Amelino researched the Great Temple of Osiris in 1895-1898. French Egyptologist Émile Amelino conducted early excavations at Abydos, uncovering significant parts of the temple complex. However, his methods were considered destructive by modern standards, as he focused more on retrieving artifacts than preserving the site. The most important is Flinders Petrie. He researched the site in 1900 to 1903. British archaeologist Flinders Petrie followed Amelino and introduced a more systematic approach to studying Abydos. Petrie's meticulous documentation of the temple's remains, as well as his discovery of stelae and votive offerings, provided invaluable insights into its history and function. Although the Great Temple of Osiris fell into disuse after the Roman period, its significance endured in Egyptian culture and history. Abydos remained a spiritual center for centuries, and its ruins inspired early Egyptologists like Flinders Petrie and Émile Amelino to excavate and document the site in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. Today, the temple's ruins, combined with nearby sites like the Osirian and the Temple of Seti I, attract archaeologists, historians, and tourists seeking to understand its grandeur and legacy. As a conclusion, I should say that the Great Temple of Osiris in Abydos was more than a religious structure. It was a testament to the spiritual and cultural identity of ancient Egypt. Its association with the god of resurrection made it a symbol of hope and continuity, embodying the timeless desire for renewal and eternal life. Through its rituals, architecture, and mythology, the temple continues to offer insights into the heart of ancient Egyptian beliefs. Me and my group visited the site of the Great Temple of Osiris in April 2013. The site comprises ruins from various dynasties built on the foundation and remnants of an ancient pre-dynastic structure. The original name and purpose of this first structure, which later became a place of worship dedicated to Osiris, remain unknown to this day. It is known, however, that the building was embellished during the 6th dynasty and underwent expansions and restorations during the 11th, 12th, and 19th dynasties. Here is what we found on the site. The Great Temple of Osiris is surrounded on three sides by a modern Egyptian village, as you can see on the picture. One striking feature of the area is its unique topography, which stands out from the general desert landscape between the Temple of Seti I and the Great Temple of Osiris. This topography is marked by numerous depressions. The cause of these depressions is unclear. They could be the result of extensive excavations, although no records of such excavations exist, or perhaps the desert sands are concealing ancient structures awaiting discovery. Another possibility is that these depressions lead to underground levels. The question remains unanswered. The entire Great Temple of Osiris is encircled by a continuous wall made of sun-dried mud brick, constructed by builders of the later dynastic periods. In its best preserved sections, the wall reaches a width of 15 feet. When observing the wall's horizontal alignment, noticeable height differences and an undulating pattern can be seen. What might explain this? One possibility is subsidence and collapse of underground voids beneath the foundation. This lends weight to the theory that the unique topography of the Great Temple of Osiris is linked to underground cavities. To the right of the main gate leading into the Great Temple of Osiris, part of a granite stela with the cartouche of Men-Mot-Are is visible, protruding from the sand. According to the list of royal names provided in the Egyptian Hieroglyphic Dictionary by Wallace Budge, this cartouche likely belongs to Pharaoh Seti I of the 19th dynasty. The erosion of the upper layers of the granite stela is severe, making it impossible to discern additional inscriptions if they ever existed. Moreover, an unusual technique is observed here for ancient Egyptian standards. The inscription is located on the top horizontal edge of the rectangular stela. Another interesting feature caught our attention before we entered the temple grounds: the windows in the perimeter wall. Similar architectural elements are found in the Dendera Temple, the Edfu Temple, and the Nileometer Fortress on Elephantine Island. In those structures, the shape of the windows and their inward slope can be explained by the technology of directing natural light into interior spaces. However, in the case of the Great Temple of Osiris perimeter wall, where the windows slope outward instead, the purpose of this design remains unclear. This opens the way for studying this technique and developing hypotheses regarding the necessity of these windows, including potential defensive purposes. Beyond the perimeter wall, we can see the ruins of structures with barely discernible cartouches of Ramesses the Great. A glance at the limestone fragments scattered across the Great Temple of Osiris gives the impression that some kind of architectural complex was deliberately destroyed. Within the perimeter wall of the Great Temple of Osiris, depressions lead to its underground sections. Detailed exploration of the underground structures requires specialized speleological equipment. This remains a task for future expeditions. On this occasion, we were able to descend only a short distance. Even a single photograph we took under challenging conditions is of great significance. The basalt statue he encountered immediately deviates from Egyptian artistic norms. Its ears, nose, and flat head are atypical. The surrounding space remains unexplored due to technical difficulties and the high risks associated with navigating the unlit and uncharted underground chambers of Osiris. There are some local legends and ritual practices which exist since ancient time till now. The Coptic Christian church monastery located by the outer wall of the Great Temple of Osiris. According to the abbot, the monastery was built on the foundation of an ancient structure and contains blocks and brickwork made from mud bricks. This area has long been associated with so-called unclean forces, allegedly emanating from the Monkey Temple, located in front of the main gate to the Great Temple of Osiris. According to ancient legends, the Monkey Temple was a site for exorcism rituals performed on people possessed by spirits. While this was in ancient times, the ruins of the temple are periodically cleansed through rituals conducted by the monastery inhabitants. These rituals are held monthly on specific days for 40 years, followed by a 20-year break. This tradition has been strictly observed since the monastery's founding. Interestingly, Muslims also consider this place as cursed, and their religious leaders perform cleansing rituals following a similar schedule. On occasion, their ritual days coincide with the Coptic Christians' ones, making this perhaps the only place on earth where a Christian hieromonk and a Muslim mullah lead a joint liturgy and procession on the ruins of an ancient temple. Together, they banish spirits of possession, ensuring the safety of their communities from this cursed place. It's worth noting that the Coptic and Muslim communities in this area live in isolation from one another and rarely interact, yet they unite to combat a common ancient adversary. Is this the power of tradition? Or is there really something extraordinary happening here? Even before the abbot told us these legends about the Great Temple of Osiris and its surroundings, members of our group noted that birds do not sing over the temple grounds, and visitors experience a palpable psychological pressure. This unexpected observation led to the decision to organize a follow-up expedition, equipped with professional detectors for radiation and infrasound activity. The theory of infrasound impact, causing discomfort and hallucinations, is partially supported by the pyramid texts. Wallace Budge references these texts in his work The Resurrection of Osiris. Wallace Budge, in his famous book The Resurrection of Osiris, says, "The well or cistern lay along the path of the Abydos Canal. It was called Hahatapet. The water within it boiled furiously, producing a great roar. The god guarding it was known as Kahahitep and allowed no one to approach it. This well is mentioned in the texts of the stela of Mentuhotep from the 11th dynasty. The text states that the structure was constructed by order of Horus. The well or cistern was repaired during the 11th dynasty, and its existence is also noted by Strabo in his description of the palace of Memnon, saying that at a very great depth, there is a descent to water, and a canal leads to the Nile. The structure described by Strabo, referred to as the Palace of Memnon, could not have been the Temple of Seti as Mariette believed, but was presumably the Temple of Osiris. This structure, mentioned by Strabo, has not yet been discovered, but is thought to be located in the area of El-Quib, hidden beneath the desert sands. As a result of our visit, we have a lot of unanswered questions. What the Great Temple of Osiris really is? Why is this little-known site shrouded in legends and mysteries passed down through generations? Why is it surrounded by a 5-meter-thick fortress wall? What water channel runs beneath Abydos? Why did the roaring water prevent anyone from approaching the cistern? What caused the massive destruction of the limestone structures within the Great Temple of Osiris? What secrets do the sands of Abydos and the western area of El-Quib conceal? Much remains to be studied. But the first step has been taken, and that is already progress in the right direction. Thank you guys for watching my videos. I really appreciate it.